Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order and welcome. Wow, this side of the room's a little heavier than this side. Okay, we'll get to you guys in just a minute. So today our invocation will be given by Pastor Rick Barrera from Believe Church. Pastor, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, you guys, it's always such an honor for me to be here. I love doing this. You guys, I just, and go Hornets, right?
That's
go
right.
Hornets. Yeah. And Islanders, go Islanders too.
That's right.
Yeah. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly and most gracious Father, we thank you, Lord, for a wonderful, wonderful day that you've given us, Father God. We thank you, Lord, for your many blessings, Lord. It's such an honor to be here, Lord, in your presence and under your guidance, Father God. We thank you, Lord, for such an infallible God to use such fallible people like me. We first want to say thank you on behalf of everybody in this chamber. Thank you for life itself and for the measure of health that you've given us to discharge the duties that you have put under our responsibility. Your word tells us that we should obey and revere those that are in government, Lord, who are whose governance we're under, Lord. With that in mind, I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city government, and for, in particular, for this council, Lord, who you have ordained for this time and season, Lord. I pray, Lord, that you give them the wisdom that they need to discharge their duties, to do everything with honor, Father God. I pray, in particular, for this agenda that you have set before us today, Lord, in the midst of controversy and different issues, Father God. I pray that you guide them and lead them in all that they put their hands to do. May unity and love reign in this chamber today. And this we ask in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. In our Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the Texas flag will be led by Julia Gilliam, a Flower Bluff student. Julia.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you, Julia. City Secretary, Ms. Huerta, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Council members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter. He's not here. Billy Lerma.
Here.
John Martinez.
Here.
Ben Molina.
Present.
Mike Pesley. Greg Smith.
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni.
Present.
City Attorney Miles Risley.
Here.
Mayor and Council, a quorum of the council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting.
Okay, good morning. You want to sit up here? Yes, okay. So this morning we're going to start our ceremonies, our commendations, with a very special one to Julia, who just led us in the pledge to the flags. So I'll just jump right into it and we can find out all about what she's done. Julia Gilliam, a student at Flower Bluff Independent School District, was joined by her family and friends on December 21st of 2021 as she received the 2021 Student Heroes Award for State Board of Education District, presented by Ruben Cortez, the District 2 State Board of Education member. This is a prestigious award, as Julia is one of only 12 students selected in the entire state of Texas. So in the entire state of Texas this year, who will receive this recognition for her acts of kindness, charity, and selfless service she has offered to others. Julia has a passion for helping others. She organized sustainable projects that included a school tour with special needs kids. She did so by raising funds and recruiting volunteers. The connections she observed with special needs students during the school tour gave her the inspiration to organize the Nueces County Junior Livestock All-Star Show for children with special needs. With much work and collaboration with special education teachers and her army of volunteers, Julia's project was a great success with 43 registered exhibitors the first year and 53 exhibitors the second year. That's huge. Congratulations, Julia. So on behalf of the city of Corpus Christi, we say congratulations. We commend you. You are a rising star, and you are exhibiting exactly what this society longs for, needs, and of course welcomes. And I hope that all, at 30, I understand there's 30 football players here, and some, recognize how important it is. Doesn't matter what you do. You're a football player. Still be kind. Still be generous. Still be inclusive, and still look up for examples. And this is a perfect one, Julia. Very proud of you. So today, your city councilman, your city council, myself, we recognize you as the city of Corpus Christi, and we commend you for what you're doing at such a young age. Congratulations.
I just want to thank everybody, especially Flower Bluff. Flower Bluff has really built me into the person I am today, and I want to thank all the volunteers. I know we have one of the football coaches, him and his family has actually helped me with the All-Star Show. So I couldn't have done this without the volunteers, so thank you.
Good morning. I am Velma Solis Garcia, proud superintendent of the premier school district in the state of Texas, Flower Bluff ISD. And we bring to you just a sample of our amazing Hornets today to be recognized by our city council. I want to thank y'all for being here, but Mayor, I just want to tell you that these are scholars and athletes, and scholars comes first. Because they have to make it in the classroom before they can make it on the field. And that's the belief, and that's what they live up to. And Julia is another example of how that scholar comes first before anything else. So a service comes to our community through their scholarship in the classroom. So thank y'all very much for being the leaders that you are. I'm extremely proud of every single one of you.
Thank you so much. I'm so proud of you. Congratulations. Great job.
Oh, great. Love it. Love it. Okay, now y'all. Oh, y'all. Oh, well, okay, look at that. God, y'all are big. Big. Okay. Let me see.
That's a lot of beef right there.
Yeah. Yes. Bring another line. I know. Oh my God. Okay, we've never had the well filled. I may have to go on the other side. I love it. Okay, okay, step back. No, but let everybody go back. As much as you can, yeah. Back, okay. Everybody step back. Like get up against the back. Get all the way up against, there you go. Everybody step back. Keep going back. Because they can go. There, you keep going. Okay, there. Y'all are like packed sardines. I love it. Okay, so I don't think they need introduction. Our Flower Bluff Hornets, and of course I'm a Hornet, always a Hornet. I'm not going to say what class, but we've got, where is he? I can't even see him. Greg, where are you? We've got another.
Class of 70.
Class of 70, and I'm class of 90. Okay, so 70 and 90. We're so proud. I am so proud of you because, I mean, every Friday night, that was the thing. Go watch that football game. Love it. So it's just, I'm so proud to be here before you as the mayor of Corpus Christi to be able to commend the Flower Bluff football team. And you guys, it's amazing. I'm so proud, and you should be so proud of not only all of your teachers and everyone that is teaching you there at Flower Bluff, your coaches, but you got a wonderful superintendent. Leadership is just the epitome right there with Miss Solis. So thank you. I'm going to go right into this commendation awarded to Flower Bluff High School by district champions, area champions, regional semifinal champions, regional champions, and state semifinalists. Wow. The 2021 Flower Bluff High School football team won its first regional championship in school history. The team beat rival Veterans Memorial High School twice on its way to its first ever state semifinal appearance, finishing the season 12-3, falling to eventual state champion Katie Paytall, okay, in the Class 5A division. This team had 23 players make academic all-district and 8 seniors who were academic all-state team. Flower Bluff's historic 2021 football season continues to get better. The Hornets won Region 4 for the first time, achieving a long-standing program goal. The team was recognized as the Ozarka Fueled by Nature Class 5A Team of the Year in the state, and an honor awarded in conjunction with Dave Campbell's Texas Football. The outlet awarded a Team of the Week in each classification all season long. All weekly winners, along with editors' selections, were in a poll that was voted on by fans, and the Hornets emerged in Class 5A. So congratulations to the Flower Bluff High School football team on an amazing season. You make the city of Corpus Christi so proud. We are so proud of you.
Thank you so much. We're honored to be here. I want to introduce some coaches real quick. We have Coach Elwood, our defensive coordinator. We got Coach Chapa. Coach Baker's our offensive coordinator. Coach Diaz and Coach Groff that were here. We got a lot of other coaches, but they're in the classroom busy teaching. And I want to tell you that this is just a small example of all the great successes that we've got going on at Flower Bluff ISD. And we are honored to be here. We had these young guys looking at y'all's pictures, mayor and councilman, and they were envisioning in themselves one day maybe sitting in these chairs behind us. And I'm proud as their head coach to know that I would love these guys being in positions to make decisions to help us, because they work hard, they do the right thing in the classroom, and we're just so proud of these guys. Being able to do something that's never been done at Flower Bluff is a testament to their hard work, and appreciate the support, obviously, from our administration. And then we're honored to be here. City Councilman Smith is our favorite, obviously, but we're really honored to be here, and thank you so much for recognizing these guys. They deserve it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And scoot in as best you guys can. Yeah. We're gonna need something to stand on back here.
Yeah, John, at least you got an edge.
One more.
Yeah. Higher.
Real quick, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you stand back here. Yeah, I see you, John's small. Guys, congratulations. Now you're as big as
I literally could not see anything. Yeah, it's right. It worked the other way. They're so big. Huge. Okay, now my next alma mater.
They're getting taller.
I know. Jazz. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Let's get in the Okay, so next is my college alma mater. All right, went from high school to college. I did not get a doctorate. There won't be another. Okay, so we're gonna very proud. Y'all move in here. Y'all move in here. Very proud. We do this every year, so it's exciting because it begins lots of festivities to celebrate our wonderful university. So I'm going to jump right into the proclamation so you can learn a little bit more about what we're celebrating today. So whereas the Texas A&M University Corpus Christi campus, the Island University, has served for over 7 decades as the premier institution of higher learning in the Coastal Bend. The university offers its over 11,000 students bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degrees in its colleges of business, science and engineering, education and human development, nursing and health sciences, and liberal arts. And whereas the university will be celebrating its spirit, traditions, and ties to the community during its Islander Homecoming Week, February the 13th through February the 19th of 2022. All Islander alumni, students, faculty, staff, and the Corpus Christi community are invited to come together and enjoy a week of festivities. And whereas in accordance with the Texas A&M University Corpus Christi's Blues Days Tuesday tradition, the Island University invites the Corpus Christi community to share their Islander pride and wear blue on Tuesday, February 15th, to celebrate Island Homecoming for 2022. So now, therefore, pursuant to the powers vested in me as the mayor of the city of Corpus Christi, I do hereby proclaim February the 15th of 2022 citywide Blues Day Tuesday, honoring Texas A&M University Corpus Christi Homecoming in Corpus Christi, Texas. And I encourage all citizens to join current students, staff, and alumni in showing their spirit by wearing Islander blue. Here it is. Today, and by participating in the many events that the university has planned for this week.
Thank you very much. Well, in addition to having outstanding academics and so much advancement, particularly with y'all's support in research and innovation, we also have Division I athletics. So we would love to see you come on out and join us. We have lots of things happening all week, but Saturday in particular, we have a women's game at 1. The men are playing at 5. They are amazing. And in between those 2 games, we have a big tailgating opportunity and a family fun festival and carnival with petting zoo and bouncies and all that kind of stuff. So come on out and join us. 2 great games. We have Lighting of the Eye, which is very exciting on Friday. So many, many events happening. But we welcome you all to become Islanders for this week. And we'd love you to be Islanders always. But we invite you to join us this week and wear your blue today. And I've got blue for y'all if you're not wearing it. But we welcome you to join us and thank you for your support.
Bring William over here.
get one, everyone looking over here, please. Right here. Perfect.
And then go do one more, just so everybody's like, 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
I'll have to come out. Check you with 2 feet. What do you need?
Good to see you, Adrian. See you later. Okay. Okay, so at this time, I would like to ask any individuals in the audience who are here to be sworn into a city board, commission, committee, or corporation to please join me up front. That would be you, Joe Kramer. That's your call. That's your call. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, these individuals have been appointed by the City Council to serve on one of our city boards, commissions, committees, or corporations. And we appreciate your willingness to serve in advance because we know it's volunteer and the work that you do, that we'll be doing, is very, very instrumental, and it really weighs into the council. So thank you in advance for that. So today with us we have, and if you'll just raise your hand, Olivia Allen. Okay, Committee for Persons and Disabilities, Jennifer Mirabal. Committee for Persons with Disabilities, Imelda Trevino. Committee for Persons with Disabilities, Joseph Kramer. Crime Control and Prevention District, Andrew Leeton. Crime Control and Prevention District, and Linda Lindsay, Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. So if you'll please raise your right hand and repeat your own name after I ask you to. I Okay. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of a member of the board to which I have been appointed and upon which I am about to enter, and will do the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state and of this city. So help me God. Congratulations. Okay, great. So we'll take a picture and then we'll follow her to her office for, I think, some signatures. Congratulations, everyone. Okay. Thank you, Jesus. Yeah, it is. Okay. Okay, so we will start here public comment in about 2 minutes. First, and before we move on, I'd just like to, I want to offer my deepest sympathies to the family of Mayor Bujon, his family, to his friends, and really to the whole community out in Port Aransas. He will be sorely missed, and so I just want to offer those condolences and let them know that we are keeping them in prayer. And then one other little short announcement that I'd like to also make and commend has to do with our city secretary, Rebecca Huerta. So here recently she completed her required professional education for recertification as a Texas registered municipal clerk. And achieving that recertification confirms Ms. Huerta's commitment to her city. And that's a big accomplishment, Ms. Huerta, and we don't take this lightly. And I want to share a little bit about what that means, what you just accomplished. So certification and recertification are neither easy nor are they automatic. She had to complete approximately 200 hours of individual home study and and her attendance was required for 96 hours in professional seminars. Recertification required 72 hours of classroom instruction and a selection of additional education options. So I just want you to know how proud we are, because you are the city secretary's office, but that title doesn't come with applying for it. You have to continue to work towards and stay on top of so many different issues in your education, and that helps us be successful here. So I just wanted you to know we're very proud of you and we commend you on that.
Thank you very much for the recognition. I appreciate it.
Okay, so with that, we will go ahead and start our public comment period here. So, Miles Risley, would you please read?
Citizens are authorized and encouraged to present their views to the council on city-related matters. However, such should be done in a factual, precise presentation, and questions of council or staff are inappropriate. Loud, boisterous, profane, obscene language or behavior is not allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. So I'll be calling you in order in which you signed up electronically. In-person public comments will be taken first, followed by any virtual public comments. Corpus Christi residents will be allowed to speak before non-residents, and for those commenting in person, I'd just like to remind everyone that a recording is made of the meeting. Please speak into the microphone located at the podium and state your name and address prior to speaking. And if you choose to speak during this public comment period regarding an item on the agenda, you may do so, but when the council is considering the item, you will not be able to speak at that time. So please choose which you'd rather speak, at which time you'd rather speak. Citizen comments are limited to 3 minutes. Non-resident comments are limited to 1 minute. And for those commenting in person, there's a timer underneath the base of the microphone. It will let you know exactly how much time you have left to speak. Once your time is up, you'll hear a buzzer go off, at which time we would appreciate you wrapping up your comments. If you have a petition or any information pertaining to your subject matter, if you would please hand it over to City Secretary Rebecca before speaking. And so with that, we will start with our first person who is here, Mr. Edalio Salinas.
Good morning. I'm here today.
Oh, the other microphone, Mr. Salinas, sorry, yes.
Hello. I'm here today. My name is Edalio Salinas. I live at 7026 Ridgestone. I've lived there since 1988. I've had my house built. I came here from another town, went to college, and I stayed. And I'm here today I'm very concerned of a tower that has been placed in our area without our knowledge. Nobody told us, nobody knocked on our door. Guess what? We're putting a 5G tower in your corner. Ladies and gentlemen, when you place something of that manner, there's a cause and effect, there's an action, a reaction, and I don't think that we've done our homework as a council. For instance, Mr. Pusley, do you know how many Navy airplanes fly above our neighborhood? No clue. Mr. Molina, Do you know how many commercial airplanes have to be diverted in our neighborhood in bad weather? Commercial airplanes, do you know?
We're not allowed to, we're not supposed to respond to questions.
No questions.
I mean, what I'm trying to get at is that there was a piece of paper that was given to you about 2 weeks ago. I just found out about this last week. A 5G tower that is being placed in our neighborhood is probably not safe for airplanes. And there are several planes that are diverted in our area. The Navy flies there. Coast Guard helicopters, that's their route. And we're placing something that could affect their instrumentation. They probably should be placed in areas that are not populated. It's not a good thing. And I'm here to please ask you, do not place it there, remove it. It's not safe for the environment. It's not safe for the people that are flying above us. And what are we going to do when something happens? It's going to be too late. There's other things that a 5G tower causes. There was a paper that was given to everybody, but I don't think we read it. I'm here asking you, please remove that tower from our neighborhood. We don't need it. We don't want it. There's nobody in our neighborhood that wants it. We just found out about it. And we're not real happy that nobody was ever told. We weren't told. And I don't know how that can happen. I mean, you need to let us know what is happening in our neighborhood. In a positive note, I will tell you, I'm very pleased with what you guys are doing with the streets. Very pleased, yes. There's things that you're doing that are great, but please consider that 5G tower.
Thank you,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Salinas. And now I move
Mayor,
we-
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
before we go on, just a statement of fact. Last week, after our meeting, I gave the document, after I read it, to our city manager, and I asked him to investigate this 5G tower thing and see where we are on that.
Right, and we're working on it, Councilman Pusley, you're right, you did do that. Just for the record, so the state law enables a telecommunication company like AT&T to place these towers with certain parameters, so it's being placed in accordance with the law, or with the standard that the legislature set. However, we know that AT&T is a good partner and a good community, a good national partner, and so based on Councilman Pusley's communication to me last week, we began reaching out to them to see, is there an alternate location for this? Because obviously it's pretty close to the homes, and we have a lot of discontent. So we're working on that on two fronts, one with Peter Collins, our IT director, and then secondly with Development Services, Al Raymond.
Well,
So we should have an update soon.
and if I may add to that, Peter, and to your point, the mayor's office has also brought in AEP themselves. And so they're also in some communications in regards to the issue. Okay. Councilman Hernandez.
Yeah, real quick, this is something that I've also brought up, and I'm surprised the city manager didn't mention it, but the state legislation is Senate Bill 1004 in the 85th legislature that basically ties the hands of cities to regulate where they put these things, even as so much as how much it can extend from the pole. The specific location he's referring to is on Peppermill and Ridgestone. And for whatever reason, this particular 5G tower is 20 feet above the ground and is basically at the same level as a second-story window. And this seems to be at a much higher power level than some of the other ones. Most of the other ones I've seen sit on top of the pole that are 30 feet up in the air. This particular one, this location, and I've had conversations with the AEP. Unfortunately, AT&T won't return phone calls, but it is a situation where we don't have the information on it. I have looked up a particular group that will do measurements and can actually provide a legal document for that, and I provided that information to some of the residents. So just to let you know what's happening. Thank you.
So multiple people are looking into it, which is great. Ms. Huerta, we have two people, two public comment
Yes, 2 virtual public comments
Okay.
by phone. The first is Mr. Tim Dowling.
Okay.
You just wait just a few seconds for us to get him on the line.
Good morning, Ms. Huerta. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you. When you're ready to start, I'll start the timer.
Thank you very much. Good morning, council members. I live at 8017. I'm a 40-year resident of Corpus Christi. I wish to clear up some redistricting misconceptions from your last council meeting and address a few of the points. The commission is recommended not because of what happened with the county. Mr. Bickerstaff says the commission is the way to go, as does Todd Hunter. All council members, especially single-member ones, have conflicts of interest when voting on a map. The following conflicts of interest thoughts will arise when a single-member council member looks at a proposed map. What are my chances of getting reelected if this map is adopted? Are any of my major donors put in another district if this map is adopted? If so, a council member would be concerned that he might lose the next election. All council members could have these thoughts arise when evaluating the map. If this map is adopted, will it hurt my good friend Councilmember X? I'd like him to stay on the council. Councilmember X usually votes like me, so I want him to remain on the council. Otherwise, his replacement might vote differently than I do, and that would diminish my influence. If this map is adopted, will it diminish the chance of Councilmember Y getting elected? I'd be pleased if he wasn't any longer on the council. Councilmember X is not favorably committed on issue Y, which is very important to me. Within the restrictions of the Open Meetings Act, I will make it known that I will vote for the map he wants if he says he will vote like I want on issue Y. None of these conflicts of interest thoughts will enter the mind of a member of the commission. The city's map should be adopted free of such thoughts. A few procedural points. It's great that we're going to have emails able to be sent to you on redistricting, but please provide the same information, who the person is, the address, and what was said, as if the person was in council chambers with you now. Put that information on the redistricting website a day after you receive the comment. At the February 21st council workshop, the public should be able to provide comment in person at the end of the meeting. This should be more open than the usual very limiting way that public comment is received at council meetings without the opportunity to have dialogue. The same should be done at the public redistricting meetings. A couple other misconception points. Regarding the need to tell the architect what you want before he brings you a plan. That is true as far as it goes, but this argument misses a critical point. Public input meetings are the equivalent of the family meeting that is held to get input from the family about what the house should look like before the architect is given direction. Regarding incumbency, no one is targeted. When redistricting, the criteria should be neutral on this point, neither to distort the process to help or to harm incumbents. These lines will last until 2030. Many of you will no longer be on the council before then, probably all of you won't be. Draw the lines that make the most sense and don't let where the member lives be the tail that wags the dog. And there won't be too many maps. Do it in Oasis County, do it and have your lawyer come up with about 7 maps. That was plenty. We could figure it out. Let the public provide input about which ones are best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Dowling. Next, we have Christopher Phelan. Okay, I've just been informed Mr. Phelan is not online, so that would conclude our public comments for today.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Huerta. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go on to section G, our city manager comments, update on city operations. Mr. Zanoni.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and members of the council, today we have a focus on infrastructure, on stormwater, streets. We're going to touch base a little bit on Revive the Drive, the Ocean Drive project as well. And then we have a quick update on the city auditor's office. And so we're going to begin by talking about stormwater. I know several council members wanted frequent updates on the new fee implementation. And Gabriel is going to give us a briefing, but just some background. So on January 1st of this year, the stormwater fee took effect and was implemented. In the months leading up to the implementation, so well before January 1, staff worked to communicate with the community and educate them on the new fee, to include using the city's webpage, social media, media exposure. We did public outreach to include neighborhood meetings and city events. Throughout the month, throughout January and then throughout February as well, the customers now have seen the fee on their bill. Every bill cycle, we have 20, has gone out at least once and probably almost twice since we're nearing the completion of February. Staff would like to update council, and we'll continue to update council as we progress through the months. So with that, let me have Gabriel Hinojosa talk a little bit more about our communication strategy and some of the feedback we're getting from the customers.
Mayor, Council, Gabriel Hinojosa, Assistant Director of Public Works. Like the City Manager Zanoni said, just a quick update on the stormwater fee since it's went into implementation in January. So even before January, since October 2021, our team has implemented a robust communications plan that's covered, multiple areas. We've actually handed out fact sheets at many public events. We created a web page where the public can go and use the GIS interactive map to look up their parcel. We've just added a link for the utility assistance program. We've utilized the utility bill. We put out a message back in November on the message box. We've had December and January utility bill inserts, multiple posters. We've used the gas billboard as for our messaging. And just because, it's in implementation doesn't mean we stopped. We have a meeting set up with the Flower Bluff Citizens Council on Monday to discuss some questions they have on the stormwater fee and to clarify any questions they have. So, just because it's went into implementation, we haven't stopped getting the message out there and getting the questions answered that citizens may have. So just a little metrics on our Public Works customer service. So our call center, just want to put it out there again. Our call center is staffed with 5 full-time staff members currently. The number is 361-561-1100. If anybody has any questions, those staff members are there 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, to answer those questions. I'd just like to put that out there. So, our call center metrics. So we've had 362 inbound calls. That's roughly about 0.2% of the bills that have been processed to date. Like Peter was mentioning, we've went through one bill cycle and we've went through about half of the bill cycle in February. So that's about 135,000 bills that have been processed. So only 0.2% of those bills, we've received inbound calls. And of those inbound calls, about 80% are calling about general information and about, mostly the stormwater only accounts. It's something they haven't seen before because they don't have an active utility account. So they're getting, a utility bill for the first time. So those are the majority of the calls that we're getting to our call center. So, calls. So when those calls do come in and appeals are asked for, we've received 93 appeals. So that's about 0.1% of 90,900, almost 91,000 bills that have been generated through that first 20 cycles. So we're only at that 0.1%. We've had 43 approvals, 14 denials, and 36 pending. And if you're wondering how that's split out, it's about a 60-40 split from commercial to residential on the appeals. So our UAP metrics, so our utility assistance program that we have had, or that we have. So we have about 35 applications received. We've had 25 approvals, 1 denial. The denial was because it was in a tier 3 category, and 9 pending that we're still waiting on some more information from those customers. So what does this tell us? I believe this tells us we're on the right path. We created a good fee structure that is based on, metrics, based on, methodology that's used nationwide. I mean, this is telling us we're on a good path. We're creating a fair and transparent stormwater fee. So, this is what this data is telling us, if that's what we're looking to see. And, going forward, we'll continue with these metrics, but all in all, we feel like, we're on the right path with this stormwater fee.
Great. Oh, you have another slide, Gabriel?
So, what is the stormwater fee going to? We initiated some stormwater improvements this year with the stormwater fee. Street sweeping. Currently, we've done 761 miles of arterial lane miles of street sweeping this fiscal year. This is keeping on target for our 8 cycles for arterials. We plan on getting 4 new sweepers this summer. This is going to continue the transition from contractual to in-house street sweeping program. A good project of Bay water quality. So this is a 3-year project over approximately $1.7 million where we're going to start introducing floatable interceptors to the outfalls along Corpus Christi Bay. Our IDIQ program, which improves our infrastructure. We have our major project this year is Glen Oak and Flower Bluff Drive. We know the flooding issues we have there during these heavy rains. We're looking at a $3.8 million project scheduled to begin in April. We're just waiting on the delivery of the concrete pipe, and we should be able to schedule the start of construction. Other projects we have, Williams Ditch. We've submitted the permit for our Phase 1 improvements between Rodfield and the SBID Bridge. So we'll be improving the Williams Ditch in that area. Starnberg Lake, Councilman Hernandez will be starting here this month or the beginning of next month. We're looking at some projects downtown, some projects along Navigation Agnes, kind of in the industrial area. Also some Whitecap Bridge pedestrian and bridge improvements. So, when we created this stormwater program, we wanted to create, a robust stormwater program, get us to where we need to be, and I believe that's the direction we're headed with this. And once again, just to reiterate, our customer resources. We have our website, www.cctexas.com/stormwater fee. There is the new utility assistance program, so it's located right underneath the interactive GIS button. So, they can go in there and look up the HUD requirements, enter their income, their household size, and it'll let them know if they're eligible. And if they do need assistance in filling out the application, they don't have access to a scanner or something, they can call us. One example is, we got a call, a citizen, doesn't have family, didn't have access to any type of scanning. So our staff members actually went to their residence and got the information for their utility assistance program. So we're out there, doing our best to get everybody the help if they want it. We're there to answer any questions if they have any questions on the appeals process. So, I'd just like to reiterate, the stormwater fee helpline, 361-561-1100. Like I said, we have 5 full-time staff members there waiting to answer calls. And I'll stand by for any questions.
Councilman Pusley.
Gabriel, thank you very much. I appreciate the information, and I appreciate everything that you and your department and Sarah and everybody else are doing to try to make this as painless as possible. I guess, and so I'm going to try to clear up some issues here this morning. I've always felt like that this system that we came up with, and if you go back and listen to my comments, when we originally talked about this, I thought it was over complex, that we should have been able to come up with something because I have to carry around a cheat sheet now so that everybody that calls me and asks me about how to explain this, and you've got to have notes in front of you to be able to explain it to them, and at least I do. But I think the large amount of people that have called me or emailed me about this, and I'm confused about, you've only had 93 people call you, or you've only had 93. I know you've bound to have had more calls than 93.
No, 93 appeals applications.
Okay,
We've
that's
had
just
close to
appeals.
400 calls.
Yeah. because I've had 93 call me, so
Yes, sir.
at
No,
least.
90, just out of those 400 calls, we've had about 75 that went into like an appeals kind of situation. So,
Okay.
like I
And
said,
I've heard people have told me that they're having a hard time getting through this number because it's so overloaded. Are y'all seeing that problem? Is that true?
you know, there's spikes, and sometimes all the operators will be on calls, but it'll queue you in the system. We're using the same system as the call center,
Okay.
so it'll queue you in, and then if not, you can leave a message, and we'll definitely return your phone call.
Yeah, and Gabriel, the call volume is so low that in fact you reduced the number of staff. You had double.
Correct.
You had double the number of call takers pretty much, and you reduced it by about half because of the call volume.
Yes, sir. So we had planned on 8 full-time staff members, so we started with 8. We're down to 5 full-time staff members right now, just on the call volume.
Okay, so you've had somewhere around 400 people who have called for explanations about
Yes, sir.
what has changed on their bill. I saw one comment that said that the city took the position of on all commercial properties, defining it as 85%.
The development factor, yes, sir.
Yeah, that's the development factor that you used. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So the system we've created is an estimated impervious cover structure. So in order to place parcels, because it's all dependent on the parcel. So how the Noises CAD defines your parcel, they define you as an industrial, commercial, single-family residential. It then throws you into our development factor categories. So the commercial development is under the 0.85 of the development factor. You know, it's going to cover a majority of the commercial development out there. We've had some appeals, like I said, about 60-40 residential, non-residential and residential. There may be, you know, it may be a large lot with, you know, a small commercial building on it, but that's what the appeals process is for, and that's what we're here to help. But the majority is going to be captured in that 0.85 category.
Why did we decide to do it that way? Why didn't we do like residential and go measure it?
No, the residential is not measured. Residential is in 0.5, so we have assigned 0.5 as a development factor for residential.
Okay.
So when you do that 0.5 factor, it throws you into one of the 3 tiers. So they're in the same boat as everybody else.
Okay. Well, you can understand that creates a great deal of confusion for people. I just say again, I think this system is just overly complex. It's hard to understand for people. There's a lot of frustration. I'm surprised you've only had 400 calls because as I go out and look at social media comments, I mean, we're getting barbecued on social media about this thing. And so hopefully we can improve on that. I think we need to do everything we can to get more information out about how this system works.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you. I agree with Councilman Pusley. My phones have lit up on this. I'm really surprised we've only got that much call volume with it. I've been spending a little bit of time. I want to compliment the GIS map on there. It's a great resource for putting that together. It helps. So you said that, can you explain a little bit more? Residential is 0.5. What does that mean?
So that tells us, that's, industry standard when you're doing, engineering calculations on runoff, because you can't just put a meter and measure runoff.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to assign these development factors to these different parcels. So the 0.5 is telling us during a rainfall, we expect 50% of the water to infiltrate into your ground and 50% to come to our infrastructure. So that's what the 0.5 is telling us. And on, industry standards telling us most homes, your RS 6.5s, your 6, RS 4.5s are going to be in that 0.5. There's going to be some outliers either way. There might be some that are, 0.6, 0.7, some going 0.4. But that's why we have those ranges of impervious cover for the residential so they can go into one of the 3 tiers.
But we're just arbitrarily saying if you have a 6,000 square foot lot, you have 3,000 square foot of impermeable, whether you have 500 or or 6,000. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, because we're in an estimated rate structure. So it's industry standards. Dallas, San Antonio, they've all started like this. They've gone to measured impervious just within the last couple of years. So it's a progress that we'll go through. Talking with Ralph Tellis, our consultant, some cities, stay in this kind of a rate structure. Some go to a measured impervious. It's just all like how we want to continue our stormwater program, because once you go to a measured impervious cover, it's going to change the rates once again, and just depending on how many of those units we can capture.
So where we have front and center on our website that talk about impervious cover, and if you're over 4,500, you're tier 3, and 3,500 or 3,000 for tier 2. Really, that means nothing. It's just how big your lot is. It's half of what your lot is, whether you have impervious cover or not. Is that correct?
Correct. So it's an estimated impervious cover. So we're estimating on industry standard that a residential lot will be 0.5% impervious.
And a customer, that's one of the reasons for the call center. A customer can call in to say, look, my lot's not that pervious.
Yes, sir. So
and
we
then
can,
you would adjust the bill?
Correct. So
Yes, sir.
we, like those residential appeals that we've had, we've gone in and take a closer look. They may be sitting on, a 10,000 square foot lot with only a 200 square foot or like 1,000 square foot home. So we've done some of those. We'll definitely take a closer look at the ones that are kind of falling outside the norm.
Well, I think on communication, we've had a little bit of a communication problem, because until I started getting the calls, I wasn't aware of this. And I've been defending the program on there. I had one guy, he called me up, and I explained the tiers with it. This is how it goes and everything else. And he said, you guys are, hide the P on this with it. And at that time when I talked to him, it's a tiered structure. It's based on how much impervious cover you have, everything else we talked about getting with the appraisal district that has that measured. And well, guess what? I wasn't truthful with the guy, because that's not the case. Because we just say your lot was 20,000 square feet, we're charging you for 10. And I didn't understand that in any of the conversations we had at this council. We just took, for residential, I did on commercial. You talked about that, I definitely remember that. But the fact that it was just 50%, and in my case on there, I'm defending the undefendable, because we have, again, front and center sitting on the website. If your permeable surface, impermeable, is so much, this is what you're charged. But that is not true. We are charging you by half of your lot size. Simple. That's it. Now, we have an appeals process, as I was looking for it. One example is Oreo Street in the Bluff on there. These lots go out in the OSO. You can't call the OSO an impermeable surface with it. They're large lots. They're 10,000 square foot. And they have 1,530 square foot garden homes on them. And they're all paying tier 3. Why? Because they were a large lot. There's other areas in the Bluff. I looked at another street on the flip side with it. This is Via Maria Isabella on the island. That the house that had the smallest house, because it had the largest lot, which probably ought to be tier 1, was charged tier 3. All the adjacent houses that cover their entire lot should be tier 3, and they were charged tier 2 on it. So this really works both ways, and I would think, did we spend any time with the appraisal district, anything, looking past the metric of 50% of the lot size? Because the appraisal district has a wealth, every structure is measured on there, your out structures are measured on that. How many anomalies do we have? 5,000, 10,000? I know the call volume is low, but as I talk to people, heck, if I wasn't aware of this, I'm sure they're not either. It was only until this last couple of weeks that I really understood how our residential works. It's flat, half of your lot size. Easy, simple, that's it. We need to say that on the website. This is how we made the calculation. These tiers, it's half of your lot size. If you feel that it's outside of that, then call the 5100 number. But our website, in my view, is misleading by listing the tiers, talking about impermeable surface, when the calculation has nothing to do with impermeable surface. It only has to do with the size of that lot.
Well, we based the 0.5, it just happens to be 0.5 and half. But
Well,
the-
and I'm not,
Yeah.
I understand, Gabriel, it's a communication issue. If I didn't understand it, how can we expect those 85,000 customers to understand it? So this is what I'm saying. We should be front and center on that website. What you just said, we calculated that it's half of your lot size. If this is incorrect, dial 5100. We'll send you the deal. I made the call just to see how it worked. So I called the 5100 number on there. Good. They answered on the third ring with it. Everything worked out and that kind of stuff. I didn't give my name, but that worked good. But the people need to know how that calculation was made, and nothing on that website tells us that it's 50% of the lot size.
Yeah, Councilman, we'll take a look at it and update it.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's not just the website though, Peter.
Right.
My mom's not gonna get on the website. You know what I
Right.
mean? My mom and dad aren't.
Yeah.
They're 80 years old. So, there should be some explanation as to, if you have any questions or if you don't,
Right.
call this number on the
Yeah,
bill
we put
or
a bill, like
whatever.
I just opened my water and other bill, and those nice brochure on there.
That's
that
the
had
perfect way,
Insert, right. I
because
looked through
everybody
it.
opens that
Well
bill.
done, right. So there's multiple ways of communicating, knowing that not everybody goes on the web.
And to the example of one street, now we've got people that are undercharged on it. We've got these kind of smaller lots on there, but a lot of impervious surface with it. Is there any ability that we can go to the CAD and try to find out these exceptions on there? We're running late now. We've already sent the bills out. So it's really a two-way street because we took the 50% lot size metric. We're missing on both sides. And I can guarantee you, nobody that's got a ton of paving and whatever on a smaller lot's going to call us up and say, I'm not paying enough. So we're trying to get to equilibrium on there and correct. I think we still have a little bit way to go.
Yeah, Councilman, thank you. After 3 decades of not having the fee, when many Texas cities did, we're beginning, right? So this is month 1.5. We appreciate the feedback. We'll be in Flower Bluff Monday at the meeting that they generally have with Shirley Thornton. Gabriel's going to be there. We did want to remind that the $3.8 million Glen Oak project funded by the fee is in Flower Bluff. So the residents are being positively impacted. But the adjustments and the comments you're making, we hear. Staff's here, and we'll take a look and communicate even more with the customer.
Councilman Banana.
Thank you, Mayor. First off, I want to start off on a positive. I like what's been done to the website. I just right now, the fee estimator, I guess, well, I'll stay positive. What is it? The fee estimator, being able to pull up the application. What is it? Being able to calculate if you qualify. I think that's all great. Call us now, email us. I like the email, what have you. But is there a way? I'm just going through it to submit it online.
So we talked with IT. It was more of a security issue just because of the amount of personal information that would have to put on that application. So that's why if they can't submit it, they can call us and we'll actually fill out the application, one of the call center reps for them. And then we can do it that way if they're not able to print it out or scan it. So we're there to help them. But yeah, we talked with IT. It was more of a security issue of how much personal information was going to be on there, and then it's submitted over the internet back to us.
Really?
Councilman, it may be a function of our legacy systems that aren't up to par. I don't think it's a staff issue. When you brought it to our attention a couple weeks ago, we talked with the leadership team about really no form should be paper forms anymore in the city, right? But we just recognize we are replacing a lot of legacy and systems that aren't as secure as some of them that are out there.
The only thing I was going to say is because in my own small agency, we have access to a secure cloud to be able to upload. In fact, Bickerstaff uses with the very same deal that we use, because I just saw it this morning. So I understand.
Right, yeah.
I understand. Okay, so so that's a fixable problem. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes, sir.
Okay. The other thing is that, now when I started exploring the site, I guess you could calculate the 50% because of the information that's on there. It's just not really, it could be more, it could be easier to communicate. That's a little bit more transparent. But I'm with you. I was upset too, and then, once I started looking through it, I figured, well, I guess there's a way you can come around to this. And then, I did talk to you about my tia.
Yes.
And so have we been able to remedy that we have some type of, I don't know, efficiency matrix with regard to the call center? My aunt called and she said the phone rang 15 times. And so then she gave up and then tried the following day and it rang successfully again. And she said somebody picked up on the 10th call. And I'm sure we were getting bombarded. I think at that time you said we had 8 people and we've had 2 more on staff.
Yes, sir. So at that time, there was 8. We're down to 5 full-time staff. I mean, we're there. Like I said, it's the same call center, software that the call center here uses, the 826 City. So if they are all busy, you do get put into a queue, and then the next available operator will get to you. So it's using that same software as the call center.
So then why? I mean,
I'm not sure why
it wouldn't answer.
Yeah, but we'll check on that. We'll get them. We'll get all the call operators busy, and we'll call in to see if it does, transfer over to a voicemail or something. But we'll check into that.
Yeah, Peter, you may want to talk to, I guess, Peter Collins, because that just doesn't make any sense. I don't know. I mean,
right? Yeah, he's listening to this meeting, so we'll debrief with him after.
Yeah. So just so that way, it's already somewhat confusing. And typically the calls that I'm getting are all, the majority of them are, like the one we visited with, obviously, we had a few of those that are commercial properties, and then the rest of them are seniors. Mm-hmm. And because they're in the CAB Tier 1, and they're seeing that small increase. The other thing that I had mentioned to Peter Collins the other day is that I had tried to pull up a history. This is not necessarily, I guess it's somewhat closely related, is I wanted to compare my bill with regard to how much my water usage had been from prior years, so that way I could see if my bill actually went down, right? And so that being, I couldn't review that. All it does is if I go on the city's utility website, it gives me the aggregate cost of my bill. It doesn't give me all the breakdown. So if we were to, if there was some software out there to do something like that. So that's the thing. I couldn't tell all the breakdown of all the different costs that were associated with it versus all I did was get whatever the total number of the bill was. So just something to consider to try and improve on the system so that way other people can review it. I know now, CP&L went to Reliant. Reliant has a robust system as to where you could see what utility costs were almost on a weekly basis. So my 2 cents, thank you.
Councilman Hernandez.
Thank you. Real quick, I was surprised at the lack of complaints that I got. I got 2. And it was generally elderly people that live in the house by themselves, don't use a whole lot of water, and saw an increase. But that being said, I voted against it specifically for the churches. Have you gotten any calls from nonprofits or churches?
Yes, sir. We've received some from the nonprofit groups, and we've explained to them, we'll take a look at their property when they do call in. Most of the time it is being billed correctly. I mean, they have large parking lots, large rooftops, so they are creating a lot of stormwater drainage. When they call in, we do take a look at it, and if we can do something, we ask them to file an official appeal, and we'll take a closer look at that property. But yes, we've received some phone calls from nonprofits.
Okay. With that, and I share the concern Councilman Smith has, is there a point in time where we'll actually get to where all our properties are done by actual impervious cover as opposed to an estimate?
That would be something, if council would give us direction to go that way. The
Get it?
software.
Yes, sir. You're right. We can, so right now, we're starting on this simpler method. We can do something like that. We can look at what it would entail.
Well, you also have to address the financial analysis. right?
Exactly. It's going to
'Cause
take a lot of, it'll take much more staff, software,
Well,
so.
to that point, you put us in a bad spot in the sense, how, we have to
Two
justify.
complaints?
No, not me.
Oh, okay.
Not me.
Okay.
But I haven't gotten complaints from anybody that lives on acre lots yet. But we've only been through, one cycle so
Correct.
far?
One and a
One
half.
full cycle?
Yeah.
Okay, so, if they're watching this, they're saying, well, I live on an acre lot, I'm being charged for impervious cover on a half acre. I don't think a lot of those homes are on a full acre, half acre of their property.
But,
And driveways.
Yeah.
And driveways. Okay, so all that being said, I just want to make sure that if we're going to get to that point, and we should charge people on what their actually impervious cover are instead of just an estimation. That might be some information you could share with us on if there's going to be, are we going to lose revenue because of that? Is it going to be more revenue? I mean, it should be, we should charge people for what they actually have.
Yes, sir. So just
Okay,
to give a
and-
little example on that acre
Okay.
lot. So you're thinking an acre is 43,560 square feet. Our tier 3 is 4,500 and above. So their actual, runoff coefficient would have to be about 0.1 for them to get into a tier 2. I mean, that's going to be pretty impossible. So, even looking at those big lots with the 0.5, I mean, even if we reduced them and took a look at it and reduced it by half to like 0.25, they're still going to be in that tier 3 category. So, even with those bigger lots, we'll definitely, if they call in, we'll take a look, we'll take their appeal. But, most of the time, they're still going to fall in that tier 3 just because they have 43,000 square feet of property.
Okay, lastly, and Peter, this presentation was also not in our packet, and it had some good information for us to refer to. So, if you're going to have it presented, please have it in the packet. I've mentioned it last week, and we also had the same thing happen in the TERS meeting today. So please, anything that you're going to present, please include it so it allows us to review it and so we can ask good questions, and then also use it as a reference in the future. I know often I will go back and look at presentations to get information from them. Thank you.
Right, we'll email that to the
Yes, sir.
councilman.
Councilman Pusley?
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so I want to go back just a minute, Gabriel.
Yes, sir.
On this 5% and 0.85%.
Mm-hmm.
I was under the impression that when we discussed this originally, that I was told, I think the council was told, that you were using estimations that y'all had garnered from the appraisal district, and that you had used a consultant to help you come up with some of those values, and I talked to Roland just not too long ago about this because I was having calls about it, and I thought I was told then that we're actually going back and trying to improve our estimations by having a company go in and actually look at residential properties and commercial properties to make sure that we have the right calculation for their impermeable surface. Is that not correct?
No, we're in estimated impervious cover right now. The 0.85, those are industry standards. If you came to me as an engineer and said, can you estimate the amount of runoff coming off of this property? Because you can't meter stormwater runoff. I'm going to look at a commercial development, a good ballpark estimate, a good industry standard is 0.85 for commercial. I mean, that's going to fit most of your big box stores, your office parks. So that looking at it from an engineering standpoint of how much water you're contributing to our system, 0.85 is a good industry standard.
I understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're saying that's the same is true with residential.
Correct, sir.
But you got to look at the picture that presents to people.
Yes, sir.
When we, especially to residential customers like the mayor's mother, who doesn't understand the mathematics of this, doesn't have the time to understand it, can't get, is not going to get on the website and look at volumetric calculations. It presents as if we're trying to pull one over on somebody, for lack of better words. And it was, and I'm like Greg, I didn't understand that. I thought we were doing more specific calculations and just saying, okay, this is an industry standard. And we're going to use the industry standard for all properties, residential and commercial. So what you're saying is all churches are being evaluated at 0.85 for their impermeable surface.
Depending on how Noises CAD has put the land use, so if they're falling into the commercial land use, or how they're being identified from Noises CAD, yes, they would be put into that 0.85 category.
Okay. And if they think that's too much, then they have to call you and file an appeal, and then,
Yes, sir.
and then you actually measure it.
Yes, sir, we can go in and
Okay.
take a closer look at it.
I just think that presents, it really kind of gives us a black eye in a way. And I was under the assumption we were doing a more accurate representation of that. So, thank you. And Gabriel, please, you're the guy standing up here taking the bullet, and I appreciate that.
No problem.
And I'm not trying to beat you up. This is a process we all agreed on. The city manager is involved in this. We're all involved in it. Your boss is involved in it, and so, but at the end of the day, we have a responsibility to report to the constituents of this city who are paying these bills how they can understand this without having to go back and take an algebra course. So,
We can put together a bill insert that maybe has a little more graphics
It comes down to the
depicted.
communication.
Yes, sir.
And I think once we do that, and I'm glad that we're catching that now, we'll get everything straight and it'll be extremely transparent.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Gabriel.
Thank you.
Good, thanks, Gabriel. We'll do some follow-up, council members, on this to see what it would take to get to that more precise model. I'm curious to see what's the breakdown of at least the 7 largest cities in Texas. Do they use the specific measurement or the general one that we're using today?
Mayor, I want to commend Gabriel. I mean, he really has just had an abundance of patience.
Yes.
He really has, and even then with people that I know that have been frustrated, he's managed them very well, and he's been a good steward for the city, even though he's probably not listening.
Gabriel, did you hear all that? We love you.
Hey, Neiman, we're busy.
Stop talking. Just kidding. No, we appreciate you very much. And Councilman, absolutely right. And you guys are you're the front line. So well, actually, we're the front line. Y'all are the back line. But it matters critically. So thank you for taking, everything that everyone has said up here to heart. We appreciate that. Thank you, Councilman.
Great, thank you, Councilman. Okay, we're going to turn now to our streets, Mayor, if we're good to do that.
Yes.
So earlier we passed out a quarterly report for you that shows all the streets in the last 2 fiscal years. Let me just hand it up here so you can see this report. It shows all the streets in the IMP, what we refer to as the IMP, for the last 2 fiscal years. Councilman Molina asked that we do this some time ago, so these are quarterly reports that we bring to the council. I wanted to start off, though, by showing you this graphic here to let you know where we are in the delivery of the IMP. And so the top is 5 years of IMP going back to 2018. You can see 2018, 2019, 20, 21, and 22. In 2020, that was the fiscal year we really began to have a public works department. When I got here 3 years ago, we didn't have one. It was, over the years, had been separated and spread across the organization. And we know what we've done to turn it around. But in 2020, the new Public Works Department and our contractors were focused on a significant backlog of projects. So they were working in 2020 on the 2018 IMP, the 2019 IMP, and the 2020. Right? Ideally, all we wanted to do in 2020 was the 2020 IMP, but we are catching up on that backlog. So in 2021, last fiscal year, we were still doing some of the 2020 work, as well as made some inroads, if we can go back to that, there we go, some inroads into the 2021 program. Now, this year in 2022, we're still working on the 2021 and trying to knock it out, and we've begun the 2022. Our goal, we're developing a goal and a strategy to be able to be as much caught up as we can at the end of this fiscal year, so that probably by 2023 or 2024, that year is the only year we'll be working on. And so you'll see projects you'll see projects underway much quicker. So in say in October for that new fiscal year, we really should be doing projects in 2023 in October, this October, fiscal year 2023. But we can't right now because we're still in this catch-up mode, but we're putting things in place to get that backlog addressed so that we'll be working on the current year's program just in that current year. Okay, so the report that I handed out to you has 2 years worth of projects, and I'm going to just break it down by the 2 fiscal years. So in fiscal year 21, there was 149 projects in the IMP, and 87 of those projects have been completed. So just under 60% have been completed for 2021. And then when we look at the current fiscal year 2022, that had more projects, 161 street projects, and about right now today 11 projects or 7% are completed for the first 4.5 months of the year. In this current fiscal year, we have 1 project in construction from the 2022 year, 23 projects are in design, and then the remainder, 126, are either in a pre-engineering state, we're doing utility work or flat work on them. So the report I handed out to you summarizes those 2 years into one, a total of 310 projects with 98 complete, so we're just at the 50% mark. I'm sorry, just under 50 miles constructed. The report adds some new features since the last time we provided this to you. It's broken out by the program area. We know we have 4 programs. We have in-house crews, the in-house rehabilitation projects we call them. We have the RSRP, residential street reconstruction, and then we have the SPMP, the preventative maintenance program, and then for the first time ever, a concrete street program. The new features in here include the status of the project, and then the construction start date, the estimated start date, and the estimated completion date. I know Councilman Hernandez asked for that, as his constituents have been asking him. So this gives you, as of today, or as of late last week through today, the estimated delivery dates for all the projects in the past 2 fiscal years. Staying with streets, I wanted to provide you an update now on the pothole repair program. I think we have a graphic we're going to put up for that as well. As we know, about 35 days ago, we were in City Council District 3 kicking off a SOS Squared, we call it, a pothole initiative. And the goal here is to catch up on the backlog of potholes caused by several factors, including just bad street conditions to begin with because of decades of neglect, and then excessive rains in the summer. So we had about 885 backlog orders of potholes that people have called in. And the 5-week update is this, that in the 5 weeks, the crews on average between our crews and the 2 private sector crews have been able to work about 21 days on average. Some you can see in the chart here, this chart that I passed out. The city crews were able to perform more work days compared to some of the contractors because of the equipment they're using. But in those 21 work days, we were able to get about half of the backlog done. So 485 of those work orders have been completed. That is close to over 20,000 potholes have been filled in that 21-day period. We know that City Council authorized $1.4 million for 2 contractors, Bay and Raytech, to assist the city crews, and about $930,000 of that $1.4 million has been expensed already. So that shows progress in another way. So the chart that I handed out to you has a little bit more information, but it includes the main things that I talked about there. So we'll continue to work through the backlog using our city crews. We're working both Saturdays and sometimes Sundays as well. And then Raytech and Bay will continue to work until that $1.4 million is exhausted. Okay, and then one more thing on streets and on infrastructure. On the City Council agenda material that was presented or provided to you last evening for next Tuesday, That reprogramming item that I talked to you about, where we're closing out old bond programs, is on the agenda. It's included in full detail, so I want to brief you today on it ahead of maybe the media and other people seeing it. And so just as a reminder, as some background, this City Council approves annually as part of the budget process financial policies, and last year in 2021, City Council approved a new policy that annually we need to close out old projects and old balances. Councilman Hernandez was a champion to bring this to us and present any savings to the council for reprogramming. And so this presentation now and then next Tuesday is the first time we've done this, I think, in recent times. The closeout process began in early fall last year. That include staff members from finance, the budget office, and then engineering services looked at our capital programs, basically, to see what is done and what projects we could close out. So currently there was 37 general obligation bond funds and 63 utility funds. That was the scope of the work. As a result of that, about half in each of those categories has been closed out. And so 16 of the 37 GO funds, about 43%, have been closed. And then 28 of the 63 utility revenue bonds, 44%, have been closed out. And so the result is that approximately $4.5 million is available for reprogramming. We're recommending neighborhood streets, and I'll talk to you about the path forward here in a moment. The $4.5 million equates to about $896 per city council district. We thought it'd be good to divide that by 5 and equally distribute those monies to each of the 5 city council districts. So about $900,000 more or less for each of the districts. We're recommending that we put that all into residential neighborhood streets. The staff is going to develop a professional recommendation and then sit with the council members, both the single member district and then the at-large and the mayor as well. And then shortly we'll come to City Council with a recommended list consistent with Council's input because those projects will be added to the IMP. It will amend the IMP. We did also close out some older bond program projects that just they're not moving along, mostly because of the Harbor Bridge was one project, the Twig Street. We'll reprogram that in the capital budget, as well as a TxDOT participation from an old 2016 bond program. So then Councilman Lerma and others, we talked about North Beach this morning, but in the 2018 bond, which is it's about 5 years now, there were 3 projects there that all have been on hold. Nothing's been done to them because of Harbor Bridge, and we know that's 2 to 3, maybe 3 years until complete. So I'll be working with Councilman Lerma and others, the mayor, to see, we're going to recommend that we reprogram those on North Beach for something other than what they were initially intended for, because we don't want to sit on the money for 8 years. We could have some IRS issues with that. So that includes, there was some $1 million project for Beach Avenue. There was a $1.25 million for North Beach area primary access, and then some dollars for Gulf Spray Avenue at $300,000. So those total $2.5 million. I'll work with Councilman Lerma to begin to start, and then others on the council will come back to council on a reprogramming there. And then finally, we talked about the utility revenue bonds. We know that's a big part of our business. So there was $8 million in old projects and funds that were closed down. So that $8 million will go back into that utility fund, and it means we won't have to issue $8 million in debt. So that'll be a good thing. We'll see the difference when we get the budget prepared for next fall. Okay, so today was just a short briefing on this. We'll have a much more in-depth briefing next week as part of this City Council meeting. I just did want to tell you about it here personally, since it's on your agenda, the materials that went out yesterday for next Tuesday. And then one final thing, an important one here on infrastructure, is that we know that the governor is going to be here in town on March 1, Governor Abbott. The mayor and I have been working on a $200 million list of shovel-ready infrastructure projects that the mayor will hand deliver to the governor. We've been working on this, the mayor and I, for some time now, and this week the letter should be ready to be finalized, and we want to bring that to your attention. The governor's going to be here, and the mayor has a good working relationship with him. We want him, as he's said many times, even just recently up at Steel Dynamics, that This is the place to watch in Texas, Corpus Christi in the Coastal Bend region. We want his support to consider funding all of or some of or up to that $200 million in infrastructure projects. The projects that are on our list, the good candidate projects for a bond program, the ones that didn't make the list for the 2020 bond program, or the ones that we know that are significant and they've been on our books for some time. So with the mayor's leadership and working directly with the governor, we'll have more information on that. We just want to make sure the council's aware that he'll be here March 1, and we'll be officially handing him that letter.
Well,
Mayor?
we're trying.
Go ahead.
We've submitted, a request.
Okay.
So hopefully, while he's here, we will be able to do that. It looks hopeful, but you never know, because that is, March 1st is a big day for him and
Right.
many others running for office. But that said, as you mentioned, the point is we have to strive to stay in front of the state and not the other way around. And so that's what I continue to do is work hard to make sure he knows. We're also going to be the letter that we'll be sending him a letter from Peter and myself also stating the same thing. We have millions of dollars in infrastructure projects that can be shovel-ready for the monies coming down through the infrastructure law that we would like to have. And so unless we make ourselves known and very visible to him, we stand in line with hundreds, if not thousands, obviously, of cities.
Right, good. Thank you, Mayor. Okay, now, Mayor, we have one more thing dealing with our infrastructure, and that's just a quick video on Revive the Drive and the Ocean Drive project. So I know we've talked a lot here since the meeting opened. This is just kind of an intermission for the council. We can watch this video. It's a short video that explains what's going on in Ocean Drive. I know Councilman Martinez and I were talking. This week, the crews, Haas Anderson, should be done the southbound lane. That'll divert traffic both directions to the northbound lane. They'll direct traffic from the northbound lane to the southbound lane, and then they'll work to complete the southbound lane. There was some issues of some premature failures in the southbound lane. You'll see why in the video. It's basically the subgrade is not as strong as we thought it was, and that wasn't realized until the layer one of a two-layer road has been placed on top of it. So we're going to show this video real quick, Mayor, and then I just have one more thing when we get back from the video. This project, which is really a monumental effort for the city, it replaces legacy problems that we have had, which is inattentiveness to our streets. We actually dubbed it Revive the Drive. We wanted to explain what the drivers might be seeing today and what's coming up. What we know is Ocean Drive behind me from Ennis-Jocelyn to I-37 is a 14-mile stretch of probably the best scenic view in the city of Corpus Christi. The $12 million is doing what we call a very deep reclamation and then an overlay. And I'm putting in 2 layers of asphalt. One you can see right behind me, the lighter black-gray color. And then if you look at the southbound lane, it's a little bit of a darker color. So that one is complete. Going southbound, that has had 2 layers of asphalt and some base repair that has been done. What we see going north is step 1 of the process. Taken up the old asphalt and have made base repairs in certain areas and have put layer 1 of a 2-layer street onto the roadway. Once that's complete, then we'll come back and put a final layer on top, stretching from the airline all the way to Louisiana. So some drivers are experiencing or seeing some premature failures, but that is in the phase 1 process. What Haas Anderson discovered is that as they excavated the road layer, the sub-base below the layer, the street, is really not the most optimal. When they found that, they had been replacing that with a more structurally sound base, but in some areas it's undetectable until the layers placed on and excessive driving is going over it. This is a natural part of the business process of replacing a road like this. And so the failures that you may be seeing along this northern section are being replaced as part of the project. A key thing to know is that the northbound lane is not done. It is in progress. As the base is being repaired here on the northbound lane, they'll come in with a final lift soon, and it'll be nice and smooth like the second lane you can see behind me over there, the southbound lane. The plan is we hope that by the summertime, early summer, the entire 14-mile stretch will be completely rehabilitated. When you don't address your streets in a timely manner, you don't maintain them properly, after decades of doing that, you run into the trouble that we're in as a city. This city council and myself and the team that we've assembled here in the past 3 years are focused more than ever on streets. We know that that is priority number one for the community. Okay, Mayor, that was, we did release that last week just to help to explain to the community kind of what's happening there, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll continue to work on it. Okay, and then one final item, I've worked with Councilman Hernandez on this, and I just want to brief the council on the city auditor's pay grade adjustments. We'll be distributing to council later this afternoon a memo that details this as well. So the audit committee approved pay grade adjustments for 4 positions in the auditor's office. The audit committee did not adjust the pay range for the city auditor position. That'll be discussed later. The auditor does have 5 authorized positions, including the city auditor. And it's important to point out that the auditor does not report to the city manager. The auditor reports to the city council. In the auditor's office with 5 individuals, including the lead auditor, there are 3 vacancies today. And Kim, the auditor, has been experiencing a high turnover rate in her department. So the audit committee asked that the human resources director look at the pay ranges for the positions. That includes a senior auditor, an auditor, and associate, an audit services associate. So we looked at those positions and pay ranges. The audit committee approved increasing the grades for those classifications and approved as such. That includes the senior auditor would move from grade 213 to 214. The auditor would move from grade 209 to 210, and then the audit services associate would move 2 grades from 204 to 206. And so the city manager, through the city council approved code of ordinances, has the ability to adjust pay ranges for all positions. And so I've using city council direction, I've done that. That becomes effective today. So we're moving those pay ranges for those 3 types of positions that are in the auditor's office. When we do fill those positions, because of salary savings, we'll be able to absorb the higher pay ranges for those positions. We've done the same thing in a lot of the city manager overseeing departments, and it's had great results, which is that if you consider pay and make sure you're in line with Corpus Christi employers as well as ones that we compare ourselves to, your chances of getting a much more professional workforce is proven. So I don't know if Councilman Hernandez wanted to add anything as being the chair of the audit committee.
Yes, Mayor. What we were looking at is that we just weren't attracting good candidates for these positions, and with that, the pay hasn't been adjusted for several years, and we wanted to look at it. We even considered possibly doing some incentives, but we will forego that if we don't get this. Maybe we'll revisit that. But it's important. We can't operate with just 2 auditors. We've got to have a robust audit committee, especially with the auditor's office. Considering the amount of audits we're looking at, it's not just internal but also external. Some of the things that we're talking about here later today with the contract manager and the purchasing office are things that have come from the auditor's office. So it's an important role, and I think it's the right thing to do to make sure we're competitive, not unlike the city manager did with his own staff. So that was for that. Thank you.
Okay.
Great, thank you, Councilman Hernandez. Mayor, that concludes the city manager's
I
report.
think we have a couple of comments.
Okay, great. Okay.
Councilman Pusley?
Yeah, just a couple of quick follow-ups. The infrastructure management plan or programs website, is that up and running, Sarah? And so it's up to date? Okay, good.
Yeah, Councilman, we are going to put this complete report on there. We talked about it last night. Yes, sir.
Good. That would
right,
be
so the
great.
residents can see when the street will start and be finished.
Okay, and then 2 real quick questions. On the pothole performance summary, so it looks like we've expended $930,000 so far, and we've covered about 55% of the work required.
Right.
So we're going to run out of money before we get to the end of
No, yeah, so Councilman, the 1.4 million was only to augment the city crews. As you can see on column 1, number of work days as an example.
Right.
We're working 10 more days, almost 15 more days than one of the contractors. So the plan all along was the city crews are addressing the pothole backlog, but it would not have gotten done in a timely manner had we not augmented that with 2 contracts at 1.4 million. So the 2 private companies, Raytech and Bay, are assisting, but we're doing the heavy lifting in terms of number of potholes filled.
So we may not get all of the work orders completed, but it will get us to a position where our own crews can finish out what's left.
Right, and that timeline of about 45 days was the goal, and that included all 3 entities working to reach it, city and the 2 contract crews.
And I guess it's notable here that Raytech, who's using this new fangled spray-on deal,
right,
is only getting about a third of the potholes done that Bay is doing, and Bay's using the old type system. And I noticed in your notes here that system is limited by the temperature and the wind and all that. So
right. And
maybe it's not as great as we all thought it was going to be. Huh?
Well, it's an alternative, right? The best method is the traditional, and Bay has more crews, more people, more trucks. So Raytech's limited to 2 of those spray patchers.
Okay.
So, as an example, just to demonstrate, it's not the panacea, but it's another tool in the toolbox. So the city, through city council approval, purchased 2 of those that are on order. And so they'll help in those streets that have a lot of potholes, unfortunately, the ones that have been neglected for 3-4 decades. And so, right.
And I'm not making a negative comment about Raytech. They're doing a great job.
Right.
And lastly, with respect to you're talking about these bonds, and I know we're going to get into it more next week, but if bonds were voted on and passed by the taxpayers, can we just change what those are being spent on without going back to the taxpayers?
You can, yeah. So we do have, you may be aware that we have an outside advisor, bond counsel advisor. So anything we do is run by them first. However, next week, part of the action will be that city council has to repurpose or cancel those projects essentially, and then redirect the money. And so city council can do that so long as certain parameters are met, and we'll show you why those parameters have been met. Okay. It's not something we do lightly, right, because the voters approved the propositions. But if you're in a situation like a Twig Street that we can't do for 10 years and we can get in trouble with the IRS, then it's better to reprogram that project for a later time when we can do it.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Well, I know you're going to work with Councilman Lermo with respect to the North Beach one.
Yes.
I'd like to be included in those discussions since
absolutely.
I work with them very closely as well.
Yes, sir, you will.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
That one will be coming later. We won't be addressing that next week because we want to be able to sit down with you. Those projects are still on the books, but it's probably going to be, we're going to recommend that we do something else on North Beach other than those 3. Keep those on our long-term 10-year plan, maybe for year 5 or so when the bridge will be done. But do something with those monies now to help North Beach.
And then when we come back to those later, we just have to do new bonds.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you. First, I would like to compliment the street department. We were going over the pothole repairs, and I see from January the 10th to February the 13th, by the number of activity days, they only did not work for 4 days on there. So this shows how important it is to them to catch up, and that's a lot of time away from your family and the Super Bowls and that kind of stuff.
Right.
And the outside contractors, they took the time off. So street crews, thank you for putting that extra time in. Now, Mr. Zanoni, I've got a bone to pick with you.
Uh-oh.
You talked about Ocean Drive, and you said it is possibly the best scenic view in Corpus Christi. It's possibly the best scenic view in Texas. On there, what other cities can have a drive like Ocean Drive? I think every single person in this town takes their people. Let's go. Wants to get the feel of Ocean Drive. And then the last thing on a more serious subject. So I understand there's $200 million worth of projects out there. I think it's important for us as council that we're consulted on this. That here we're going, we're 2 weeks away, and you know, to keep the council manager form of government, council ought to be briefed. So anyway, thanks Street Department, best scenic drive in Texas, and keep us in the loop.
And I think that was the plan. I mean, when
Yes.
we first started talking about all this, about, you know, all the projects, because of course there's more projects than, you know, we'll be able to tackle.
Yeah.
But I'll let Peter.
Right, so we'll have opportunity with the city manager's report or separate briefing next week to include also some one-on-one briefings if the council wants those. Thank you, Councilman Smith.
Councilman Hernandez, is your light on, or is
Yes,
that?
yes.
Okay, go ahead.
On the in-house street maintenance projects, a lot of the construction start dates are late into 2023, and I'm a little concerned that we're going to, you know, we're going to get real behind in those projects. I know you had mentioned that, you know, you're trying to catch up on 2021 and 2022, but a lot of these start dates are in 2023. Can you kind of expound on how you're going to catch up? And since you didn't include 2023, is it going to be simultaneous with these 22 projects, but do you have the crews to do it?
Yeah, let's have Sarah talk a little bit about it, so we, go ahead, Sarah.
Right, so what we're experiencing on our in-house projects, the reason you see that 2023 start date is as you can see, a lot of our projects require extensive flat work. So we're working with an RFQ to get another contractor to come in and do the curb and gutter work, and we'll come in and just do the street work. So that's why you see that delay on there.
Okay, so I guess that might be a better explanation as to, you know, how but you still have the process of you're going to start the street work, but it's going to be in 2023. You know, you still have 2023 projects.
That's correct.
And you only have, I mean, this is in-house, so you have different, I mean, how are you going to catch up?
So we're hoping, so the way we're going to catch up is we're also going to be putting out another RFQ for the 2023 flat work within the next few months. So we're hoping to be caught up by 2023 with the flat work, so that you'll see the street work within that same year.
Okay, I get it on the 2022 projects, okay, but you still have 2023 projects that you have
That are
to.
coming up.
That are
Mhm.
coming up at the
Correct.
same time.
Correct.
But this is in-house, right? So are you just going to be behind on 23 projects that are going to be into 2024? How's this going to work?
So the street work isn't actually what takes the longest amount of time. It's the flat work. So we're not anticipating to be as behind in 2023. We're
Okay,
hoping
so
that's our
are your
catch-up
flat
year.
work contracts for both 2022 and 2023?
Correct.
Okay.
So we just went out for RFQ. We're hoping that closes within the next couple of months for the 2022. We're going to add to that the 2023.
Okay, so that helps out a little bit better.
Yes,
so,
sir.
So if you could, but that wasn't explained here.
Apologies.
Okay. I just wanted to have some clear, because it's hard to say how we're going to catch up.
Right.
If, you know, I tell somebody that it's on the 2022 project that's on the website, and it starts in 2023. Okay, so I just want to be clear on that. We still have to be accountable to our constituents.
Understood.
Okay. The other question I have is, you know, obviously we still have 2022 bond. Are you going to talk to us individually on those projects for those streets?
Yes, we are. Yeah, Neiman's the lead on that, and I think it's in April, Neiman. We have a full-blown calendar, but we'll be meeting individually with all council members on what we're recommending.
Okay. I know Neiman was kind enough to join myself and Roland Mata on a tour a couple weeks ago to visit some of the streets that, you know, may not be as readily available, and some of the projects for those street reconstructions are more collectors as opposed to arterials. But I appreciate that. And if you want to say anything.
Yes, sir. No, yes, sir. We're basically going to follow a process very similar to what we did with Bond 2020. In fact, the city manager had us pull the Bond 2020 calendar to make sure that all the benchmarks that were met during Bond 2020 are captured on the Bond 2022, and that includes one-on-one briefings with the councilman. We're just working with the staff right now, putting together different options for the councilmen to consider, and then we'll be sitting down with you all to get your selections on what you want to see for proposal.
Okay. And lastly, I want to say you're welcome for all me beating up on the CIP to find out that funding.
Oh my God, Gil. Moving on to
I know I was kind of a pain on that, but you know that it was important for us to be able to find that funding.
We're still going to divide by 5.
You're welcome.
Wait, yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on. Thank you. Yes, of course. Section J. All right, our consent agenda, items 2 through 19. Do we have any requests from the council to pull any item for individual consideration? Or any requests from the public?
Second.
Just a second, Mayor, what were the,
Oh, wow.
what were the numbers too? 19, okay. Okay.
Mayor, I have a question on 18.
18?
I guess it also kind of applies to 19 because it's the same presentation, but I guess I'll pull both of them. 18 and 19.
18 and 19. 18 and 19.
Could we pull 17?
17? Okay. Okay, anything else? Anyone from the public? Okay. Then with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of items number 17, 18, and 19.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. And the motion carries. Item number 17 is, let's see here, a motion authorizing the second amended and restated management services agreement between the Corpus Christi Area Convention and Visitors Bureau and the City of Corpus Christi, and approving VCC's amended bylaws. Constance, okay.
Good morning. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Smith. 17.
Thank you, and thanks everybody for all the work they've done on this. There was one note, revised Article 7 with it. Can you explain that? It's 203 of the packet.
Let's see. Okay. I'm just going to read it out loud. So it says, remove the following. No amendment shall be finally effective unless and until one written notice of the amendment has been given to the city, not less than 60 days prior to the effective date of the change. And number 2, the city has approved the amendment, and then we're going to replace it with this. Any changes to the bylaws must be presented to the city manager for approval at least 2 weeks prior to the adoption of the bylaws by the board of directors. The city manager may reasonably object to changes that are not consistent with this agreement prior to the board meeting for approval of the changes. The changes to the bylaws will be effective upon approval by the board of directors and the city council.
Okay. So, where does the city council become involved? And is it the very end of the process?
Yes, sir. I believe the recommendation is made to the city manager. It's taken to the board of directors and then to the city council.
Okay. Yeah, so it is at the end.
Make sure that's right. Is that right, Brett?
Yeah, so what it was is given to the city 60 days, and the city has approved the amendment. So we're switching from the city saying yes to the board. The city had to say yes before under the existing contract, and then Visit Corpus Christi approved it. Now we're getting
swapped. I
we're
believe.
switching that around.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So why are we doing that?
Because the city council has the ultimate approval, the final approval.
Is it fair to Visit Corpus Christi that we are known to change our minds at the last minute on there, and everything's just going swell till it gets to here, and yeah.
Well, yeah, I'll invite Brett Otting up here to make some comments.
Okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. And what would you like me to elaborate on, Councilman?
Just in the process, the reason for the switch from the council getting kind of the first bite of the apple till being the tail end, Charlie.
Yeah, this was something that was discussed last year when these amendments were proposed. And I believe during the conversations with the mayor and with Peter, the idea there was that if there is a change recommendation from the bylaws committee of the organization, there was no stated avenue where we would get approval from city staff, whether it was a legal approval or a financial approval, before it went to the board and then to the council. So unless there was an additional meeting taking place, it could actually get to the point where a change was approved by the Visit Corpus Christi Board of Directors, then made its way onto the council agenda to find out that it was illegal to make that change for some reason. So the mayor recommended this wording that if there was any recommendations, there would be a conversation with the city manager, and the city manager would check it over to make sure with his staff that everything would work out and there would be no issues. If there were no issues, then it would go to the Visit Corpus Christi Board for a vote, and if they voted to approve, it would then come back to the council, and the council would have ultimate say over that change.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, this is kind of the same thing that we had a discussion on this, as well as the agreement, where it says city manager for approval 2 weeks prior to adoption, but what you're actually saying is that the city manager with his staff is going to review it to ensure it complies with all this existing agreements and existing things that are in place, not necessarily to approve it. Because it seems like if the city manager's approving it, why do you need a board?
Right. I think that I will defer to the mayor on this, but I do think that that was the general intent, was that it would still be approved by the council. However, there should probably be an avenue to make sure that whatever change is being recommended follows along any guidelines for the city from a financial or legal standpoint. That there would be a review by the city manager to make sure that it was possible to change whatever that request would be.
Okay, so just when I say by review, and I think that was the intent, not necessarily approval, because if the city manager disapproves of it, we never see it. Is that right?
I don't believe that's the intent. I believe so.
Well, that's what's written.
Yeah.
Okay, if he disapproves, it doesn't go to the board, and it doesn't go to the city council. Is that correct?
I believe the intent there.
Brett, I'm sorry, it says if they are not consistent with the agreement. It's not necessarily that I subjectively don't think it's a good change or not. It's just,
okay, well,
it's kind of
this is the amendments on the bylaws, but if you look at the agreement, it says the same thing on paragraph 10.8. And I can read it. Okay. The board of directors will operate under the bylaws, which must be consistent with the terms of the agreement. By current bylaws attached to here, Exhibit B, any change of the bylaws must be presented to the city manager for approval at least 2 weeks prior to the adoption of the bylaws by the board of directors. The city manager may reasonably object to changes that are not consistent with the agreement prior to the board meeting for approval of the changes. So I get the intent is not necessarily for approval, but for review to ensure it complies with the contract.
Correct.
Is that the intent?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Okay, so you're not asking the city manager for approval, you're just asking him and his staff to verify that it's in accordance with the contract and
the bylaws.
And budget, whatever.
Right.
Right.
And the bylaw document.
Would it be, so I think just to make sure that we're clear on this and what the intent was, that we should change approval to review on both those sections.
Approval to review.
Approval to review. I mean, if we're looking at it from the perspective of what you're trying to accomplish, you need your staff for your legal department, your finance department to review any changes to the bylaws to ensure they comply with the contract.
Presented to the city manager for approval to review at least 2 weeks prior, is what you're saying?
No. To replace
To
the word
replace to
approval
review.
to
Presented to the city manager for review.
For approval, so add the words for approval to review?
No.
Remove the word
Remove the
approval.
word approval
Oh,
to
okay.
review.
To review.
To make
Okay.
sure it's in compliance with the issue. Now, and then that would be the discussion,
Okay.
because really the approving authority should be the board and the council.
Right, we agree. I agree to that.
Okay. So if, I would like to make a motion to amend, well, I don't know, do we have to approve it first and then amend it? Okay, so, or no, we have to have a motion and a second, and then the amendment, right? Okay.
Yeah. Let's get a couple of
Okay.
comments in, and
Okay,
just
I'll-
hold that thought. Councilman Barrera?
You know,
Yeah.
thank you, Mayor. I always have this saying, a solution in search of a problem. And I'm trying to figure out what's the problem. I know, I understand Councilman Hernandez's concern in the fact that he wants to be able to have a specific policy. That way there's no gray area. But I just look at, Peter, you and the mayor on the board, and obviously if they're presenting bylaws changes to you, we have the resources that to be able to come in and have them look. I would think that we would volunteer those resources. I mean, I volunteer the resources of my staff for our community. And so I don't know. I just think that we're legislating the details, and then I don't have a ton of heartburn on a review. I just think that from a taxpayer standpoint, we're spending all this minutia to try and figure out something when I think common sense should prevail, that we have confidence in you, and that we have confidence in you to be able to work with the board as a board member with the board to be able to make a decision and offer guidance and of which to say. And then at that time, you can basically say, hey, this doesn't work with our policy, and it's therefore it may have a challenge getting before the council. So, I don't know. I just think that I'm just adding my 2 cents that I think that we're over legislating the contract. And we hire professionals such as Brett to be able to manage the organization, and we have a extensive recruiting process for their board of, so that way we make sure that there's people in there and to have them utilize their common sense. So just my opinion there. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Pusley?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Councilman Barrera, I don't disagree with what you're saying. But maybe just for the sake of making sure that we have this covered down the road, maybe if we reverse the language in that paragraph to where, we talk about the approval by the board of directors and the city council, and then after that, the city manager is responsible for making sure that this fits within the contract and meets all. So basically, just kind of reverse the language here to give that direction. And I'm not going to even attempt to, that's what we pay Miles to do, so, or somebody. But I think it says what we really want to do. I just think maybe we've got it in reverse order.
Councilman Martinez?
I guess the question is what is the reason for the change? Why do we need the change? What's the benefit of it?
In talking with Miles' staff, after this process was put in place the last time, there's not really any, it goes to the council twice, I guess. The way it's written right now, if you follow it literally, if there was a recommended change by the bylaws committee of Visit Corpus Christi, I would, the idea that Amy came up with is that I would send an email to all of you a couple weeks in advance before the board even was presented with that idea. Wait and see if any of you have any thoughts, questions, concerns. If I don't hear anything, then it would go to the board. The board may approve it, and then after that, it comes back to the city council. So by changing it from city council to city manager, the idea that I believe the mayor was looking for the first time was that there should be some avenue to ensure that, like Peter said, that this follows any appropriate guidelines. If it's going to alter the contract at all, the city staff needs to have a look at it first.
Yeah, and for clarity, this was never, when discussed, the intent was never to bypass council, and I
Right.
completely respect. If it needs to come back, I mean, it's something that's already there.
Yeah.
This is, and I believe it was there before, I'm sorry, it was brought forth, the last contract amendment. So if it is the will of this council to leave it as is, then let's just leave it as is and move on. I don't
Yeah.
think that has anything to do with the way this organization is going to run, moving forward at all. So
Yeah,
if
the
you want,
council.
like, in other words, if you want to make that, whatever motion you were making, we were allowing for the rest of the comment, then by all means, go right ahead. It was just about clarifying, as you said, if there's an issue with any of this that's delineated, then that's what we're here for today.
Okay, I want to clear up, because I know Councilman Bunnett had brought up some things about trusting our staff, and if it was today, right, I think Peter would have the wherewithal, along with Miles and Constance, to do what needs to be done in order to make this work. However, we're not just talking about today. These are policies from, after we're gone and after they're gone. Peter could get hit by a RTA bus, riding his bike. Anyway, so I want to make, what I wanted to make clear here is that what the intent was for them to review it, make sure it's in compliance with all the contract and, I'm assuming, budget and anything else that bylaw would affect. And then that way, it doesn't have to come back twice to us as a council, after it's gone through this process of like, well, you can't do that because it violates our contract. So I get the reason for it, and I don't mind the order, have staff review it, then say, hey, this is where it needs to change or doesn't need to change, or, whatever it needs to be, comments need to be made. And then it goes to the board. But ultimately, the board, and I believe, Peter, you're on the board, right? Okay.
Mayor and I both
it
are
would
on
be, you would approve it at that point, and then it comes to council. So I just think the wording is not quite correct, and it could be misinterpreted in the future, right? We know what we're talking about here, but it could be misinterpreted down the road as a pre-approval to where the board and the council are only, check marking whatever the city manager does. So
Councilman, I think that you gave the best explanation of what the intent is there. And at no time was this an attempt by anyone, me or the board or Peter or the mayor, to not give final approval to the council. This is strictly an efficiency.
And I didn't
standpoint,
make
yeah.
that make that
Yeah.
accusation.
Yeah.
It was simply,
Yeah.
I think the intent was for legal and financial review
Correct.
of any changes prior to coming to approval to the board or the council.
Right.
And I think it should be stated that way as review. So I will make that amendment.
Okay. So what is your,
So we have to do a motion, and based on Robert's Rules of Order, we have to do a motion and a second, and then I have to make an amendment after that motion and second has been made.
I move for approval.
And I'd like to make a motion to amend the language to where in those sections in 10.8, that it would be changed from approval, city manager for a review, or change to city manager for review and strike approval. And the same thing on the amendment language, or
In the bylaws, section 7, right? Article
Correct.
7.
Correct, where it says approve to change it and strike that and change it to review.
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion carries.
Then we
Thank
need
you.
to approve it as amended, if there isn't
make-
discussion on that.
So I make a motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion carries. Okay. Item number 18, 19, those are both resolutions in support of the proposed 9% housing tax credit for an affordable housing project known as Weber Lofts to be developed by Creative Urban Multifamily LLC.
Jennifer Buxton, Assistant Director of Neighborhood Services. And ma'am, if it's all right with you, I'd like to present on both of those items together.
Sure.
Thank you. Next slide, please.
Yes, sir.
We had these pulled. I'd like to hear what Councilman Hernandez's issue is for pulling them. I've read them.
Oh, and then, ma'am, there has been changes to the Weber lofts that may impact the resolution that I would like to make sure that you know.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we can certainly do that. If you want to just state what your
Well,
concern was. and then
the
we'll
original concern was, well, there's two. The Weber lofts are in an area, they're outside the APZ, but APZ2, but it's close enough, and it's a 4-story building. And I just want to know if we have something in writing from the Navy.
I do.
You have something in writing?
Yes.
They sent you an
I
email?
have the developer reached out to the Navy at my request, and they have documentation as such.
Okay. Do you have that documentation?
That was not a required part of the application. I do not. However, the developer is here and can speak to that if you would like.
Okay, that's fine. I just, if we have it, I'd like to put it on file because I don't want to, the people at the Navy change quite often, right? I don't want to have.
Councilman Hernandez, also, if I have any something that's regarding your district as a courtesy, I give you a call. I'd appreciate there's some reciprocity.
Okay, well, this has to do with the Navy, not necessarily your district. I understand the project's there. I just, like I just said, I just asking for documentation.
I'm telling you, I'd appreciate some reciprocity. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Mr. Barretta, you're out of order.
Okay. No, let's not use that term. We're moving on.
Okay, well,
I
still had a second part till I was interrupted.
What was your second
by
part?
Councilman Barretta.
What was your second part?
The second part is that, the problem we had last time is that we had only 2 applicants, and where several others had other locations, and I was a little disappointed to only see 2, and I thought we were going to get more applicants. And can you please let me know what happened and why didn't we get more applicants to apply for this funding?
First, it was a difficult year to assemble land based on the scoring criteria, which changed a little bit. There were 4 pre-applications to Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs. Based on everybody's self-score and how it looks the tiebreakers are going to go, 2 of those applications have decided not to move forward. There was there were 2 of them from Prospera that turned in pre-applications, one for Galahar and Greenwood and one for over on Agnes. Those applications they've decided not to move forward with. And then I also know that Madhouse Development looked, and what they told me is that they couldn't find any ground that they thought would be competitive. So after taking into consideration the self-scores and the tiebreakers, all of the developers look at what's going on, and those other 2 fell out. So we have 2 quality applications.
Okay. And you said you had something specifically that would affect one of the applications?
Yes, sir. Is that okay, ma'am? Weber Lofts has some updated information. Based on some site characteristics, their project has gone from 81 units to 58 units, and there won't be any market rate units. They'll all be at or below 60%. And so if you move forward, I would ask that you consider changing the resolution to reflect that.
That's 18 or 19?
18.
18, sir.
Jennifer, does that change the score?
The self-score is what was provided for the pre-application. I would prefer that the developer, since they determine what their self-score is, can we ask the developer that question?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Is it?
Yes,
Are they here?
that's fine. Yes, please come forward.
Mayor, council members, no, it does not, Councilman Hernandez. The TDHCA application process allows you to reduce the number of units from the unit count that you state at the pre-application does not allow you to increase the units once you do that. The size of the tract was not stated accurately in the offering brochure or the offering flyer for the seller, so it forced us to have to constrict the size of the building and reduce the number of units.
Hopefully you got a discount.
We're still working on that. If I could just make one comment to a statement that you made before. One of the realities for Corpus is that Victoria becomes a really key other community within the region for the 9%. So when we looked for our location, what's happening now is that, initially, as Ms. Buxton mentioned, there's, I believe, 5 applications that all have the same self-score, which is the highest points that you can get at this moment when you submit the pre-application. What is now dictating what will get an award is the tiebreakers. So I and our consultants, we looked at census tracts in Victoria and evaluated census tracts in Corpus to determine a census tract that would beat out the census tracts in Victoria when it came time to the tiebreakers. So the tax credit program is really driven, as you know, and as the council may know, by census tracts. And so when Ms. Buxton talks about the difficulty of defining areas that are going to secure the max points, it is becoming harder and more competitive.
Thank you.
Mr. Zanoni.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to point out that we do want to get those tax credits over Victoria. We've been successful the 3 years I've been here. I did just have one question. With the lesser units, would we get less federal money for the project? With fewer units, I should say more correctly, would there be fewer federal dollars?
The eligible basis is probably not going to, the eligible basis that they would be awarded for the tax credits would most likely still not cover the entire eligible costs. They're both still going to max out right now at about $13 million, $13 to $13.5 million total project cost.
Okay.
No.
Okay, good. That's good. So that means 13 million coming to our community, hopefully, if the fine company can get the final score in our advantage in July. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, just want to point that out.
Yes, great. Thank you for bringing that out.
Oh, Jennifer, if you wouldn't mind, if you can ask the developer for that documentation from the Navy, I just want to make sure we're completely clear.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and entertain a motion to approve items number 18 and 19 as presented.
So
move for second.
Yes, ma'am.
May we please consider the reduction in units
Oh, right.
for number 18?
Do we have to amend it? So we move for approval and then we'll move to amend?
Okay, so we have,
For 18.
Do we
can we do?
do them individually?
Let's do them separate then. 18.
No.
No, number 18 is being.
Change to 58 units.
58 units, all at 60% AMI or below. 58-unit multifamily development multifamily development for renters with household incomes at or below 60% of the area median income.
That would go in the first whereas of the resolution?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the, okay,
Yes,
that's the
ma'am.
proposed language.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'll make a
And I'm sorry,
motion
we've just
to approve
confirmed
item
some
number
change.
18, and then Roland, I'll let you make the amendment.
Oh, thank you. Well, I move to amend to amend the language to 58
So I've got to
units.
approve it first.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve. All in favor, say aye.
You don't
Aye.
have to vote
Any
on it.
opposed, say no.
No.
Yeah, we don't
Pardon?
vote on it. We just need the motion and the second.
Oh.
Yeah. So.
I
so-
second it.
Right, so we're good. So now we just need to amend it. So what's the amendment?
Right.
I move to amend the language to 58 units at 60% of the median income level.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no.
So
The
now-
motion carries.
Well, now make a motion to approve.
As amended.
As amended. Item number 18 as amended.
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say no. The motion carries.
Make a motion to approve item number 19.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer. Okay, with that, we are going to break for lunch for 30 minutes. The council will go into an executive session on item number 27 per Texas Government Code Section 551.071, and we will return shortly. 30 minutes. Okay. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. We're back from executive session, and I'll reconvene the meeting. At this point, we are going to, do we have action? We do, don't we? Councilman, yes.
Yes, Mayor, I'd like to move to authorize the city manager to execute the amended cooperative agreement for city-operated Corpus Christi, Nueces County Public Health District approved by the Nueces County Commissioners Court yesterday and distributed to the City Council today.
Second.
Great. Any further discussion? Councilman Martinez.
Thank you, Mayor. One of the concerns that I had looking through the agreement was the protection for the current employees, both city and county. And I was wondering if Mr. Zanoni could just address those concerns as far as how those employees are going to be protected under this agreement.
Right, yes, thank you, Councilman. And I'll begin, and then Miles Risley, our city attorney, is going to speak a little bit as well. So with respect to the city employees, all city employees will have the opportunity to reapply for the new jobs that'll be in the new health district. The city does have a reduction in force policy, so if for some reason a person isn't selected for a job, and we're talking the frontline entry level type jobs, they would then be able to utilize the city's reduction in force policy, and what that means is we'll give them preferential treatment in looking for another job within the city. The city has over 3,500 positions, so the likelihood that they could be placed in another position is very strong. A reduction in force policy works well. With respect to the county employee, they likewise have the ability to apply for all new positions that'll be created in the district. And there's protections in the contract if they are hired by the city, but for some reason let go within a time frame. They also can then use the city's reduction in force policy. The county employee has other protections as well. They're able to carry over a significant amount of sick leave time and vacation leave time, and that is after buying out some of that time, some of their initial time through the county. So there's those protections. We've also stated, I've said it openly, and I've said it in private with commissioners and council members, that we know that the frontline employees that have worked for this community for decades, in some cases, know what they're doing. And in some cases, it could be if the employee is not at 100% performance level, it could be, and oftentimes we see that it's something to do with the direction that they're getting from the leadership team, or it could be their equipment or supplies or protocols. So we're not too worried about the frontline employee in terms of performance because we know we can correct performance more easily at that level. Miles, I don't know if you want to add anything else in terms of the contract?
Yeah, I would like to point out that the county fought quite a bit to get as many protections for their employees as possible, and they were able to receive quite a few of those protections in the agreement. Probably the biggest one is that non-executive employee positions in the health department are going to be initially open for internal applicants of the health district, and that's what we've been doing. And they will have the same right to apply for those positions that the city has had, and they would not have obtained that right had we simply left the health district. So that's quite a bit better than I think than they would have had otherwise. And we're also going to see their ability to roll over up to 40 hours of sick leave into the city system if they have accrued unused sick leave of up to 40 hours, and up to 240 hours of vacation leave after they get the payout of their accrued vacation leave from the county if they're leaving the county.
Yeah, and then Councilman, just one final comment is that we are with the employee. I've been with them since October, weekly, once a week, been meeting with them in person up to the Omicron, and then we've been doing weekly videotaping. So we want the employees to know, I think they know, I don't have to tell them, but we're with them. We care about the employees, and it doesn't matter if they're a county employee, we care about them as equally as we do the city employee. So I want to close with that.
Okay, Councilman Hernandez.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to say that this is probably not the most ideal scenario, but in order to save the grants that we have applied as the health district, this is kind of the solution that we've come up with. Hopefully in the future, we can separate this completely to where the county takes care of the county and the city manages the city. I think this will be a good short-term solution, but ultimately, I think the county should be doing this work themselves. But with that, I'll support this for the sake of those grants. Thank you.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd just like to thank the staffs in both the city and the county. This has been a long process and an arduous process on there, and the amount of work that has been done to bring this complexity together. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Nueces County. Thank you, commissioners on there for everything you've done. Ms. Darcy, thank you, the city team on it, because this represents really a sea change in our operation. And hopefully we have a contract that everybody's a winner, the city, the county, and most important, our citizens. Thank you.
Right. Well said. So I think right now we did reconvene the meeting, and we're waiting for one more commissioner who's running a few minutes behind. So I think what we'll do is, I'll ask for your patience, but we're going to go ahead and hear this next item, item number 21.
Mayor, did you want to vote on the contract?
Oh, did we not? No. Oh, goodness. Okay, I'm sorry, we were doing discussion.
No worries,
Okay,
yeah.
yes. All right, discussion's over. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion carries. Yes, very good. So we're going to, Mr. Zanoni, do you have?
No, I'm just going to say great. Congratulations on another unanimous vote on a monumental policy
Yes.
item that this council has addressed, and the mayor. Thank you.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes. Mayor, I did want to, with staff is recommending or we're requesting to postpone for a future meeting, item number 20. That's a historic preservation plan. Several council members want a little more time with the staff to better understand it, so we're going to remove that from the agenda.
Okay.
Item number 20, as well as, if you don't mind, item number 24 as well. We're going to
Okay.
recommend to remove that from this agenda. We'll put it on a future agenda after we do some additional one-on-one work with the council.
Okay, sure. Okay, then let's go ahead and go into, take care of item number 21. And that is an ordinance authorizing the exchange of the surplus property for property located at 1525 Morgan Avenue and 1411 12th Street, and authorizing execution of a contract to complete the exchange and conveyance of the properties between the City of Corpus Christi and the Ed Rochelle Foundation pursuant to a competitive bid.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Jeff Edmonds, Director of Engineering Services. This is the item that gives us the authority to negotiate this land swap arrangement for Fire Station 3 with Ed Rochelle. I think that there's been some prior discussion with council. I think most of you are familiar with it. This is a site used to be a church that is adjacent to the fire station, and it's going to be a win-win to pull this off, because it's going to allow us to construct a new fire station while the old station is in operation, rather than trying to reconstruct in the same site, in which case you've got to find some kind of temporary arrangement for the fire station. So Ed Rochelle has agreed to this. With this action, this will grant staff the authority to negotiate that and ink the contract on that swap.
Okay, Councilman Molina.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm really excited about this particular project. It is of course, located in District 2, and for me, I believe it's a win-win for everybody, not just for District 2, but also for the citizens of Corpus Christi, and not just the citizens, but also our first responders. I'm so glad that we're going to be able to put them in a state-of-the-art facility that has an emphasis on their safety. And so I'm really excited about moving forward with this project.
Yes, well, we support that, Councilman. Councilman Hernandez.
Yes, I would like, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank the Ed Rochelle Foundation. I know they tend to like to operate in the background, but they're a wonderful resource that we're blessed as a community to have them. And I also like to point out that this fire station will have 2 additional bays that will allow us for some expandability in what that service can provide. It is the highest or most used for our EMS service, and could even give us an option to put in an additional EMS service there, vehicle if needed. So I think this is a great thing, and again, I'd like to extend my gratitude to the Rochelle Foundation. Thank you.
Well said, and we do have to give thanks because this is also, as was said, done in partnership. This is one of the busiest stations in the country, and that is factual. So this is, as you said, a win-win for public safety. Would you like to make a?
Thank you, Mayor. With that being said, I would like to...
I'm sorry, let me interrupt you. Public comment. Do we have anyone that would like to make public comment on item number 21? Okay, seeing there be none.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. And we'll go into item number 22 quickly. An ordinance awarding a construction contract to South Texas Building Partners Incorporated, Corpus Christi, Texas, for the construction of a new storage facility for beach maintenance equipment at North Padre Island. Mr. Edmonds.
Good afternoon, Jeff Edmonds, Director of Engineering Services. This is the long-awaited beach maintenance facility that is planned to be constructed next to the fire station on Commodores. This is the construction contract that we had good bids on this. There were six bids. Unfortunately, the engineer was the low bidder, which we usually don't like to see, but we feel like we've got good bids and that we should award the low bid to STBP Incorporated for little less than $1.7 million.
Okay. Any questions from council? Councilman, nobody? Okay. Any public comment on item number 22? Okay, there being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. Okay, so I see we have all of our attendants here now. So we'll go ahead and pause and, yes, we'll recess the meeting for a few minutes. Okay, so, oh.
I'm going to say some words and we'll say we'll do the official.
No.
Okay, okay, good. Hey, Gil. What, you don't trust us? You got it. You signed. Have you all voted on it? I know. I missed the vote. Did you miss the 5-0 vote?
It's just a pen, y'all have to buy the ink.
Just charge us.
It's in the contract.
Those are on loan.
Yeah. Yeah, sit down.
You gonna say something for
Yeah,
you
I'm gonna say a
sign?
few words.
She's gonna say a few words when you sign.
And Peter, you gonna get on this? Okay, are we ready? We're ready? Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us, because today is truly is a historic day, not only for the city of Corpus Christi, jointly for the city of Corpus Christi and Nueces County. And you all here today have really put in the effort to make this happen alongside our team, our legal team, Steve Vieira, and many others, of course, our city manager. So we're very happy to be here today to take this opportunity and to really relish this forever, truly. Today we're standing up to redefine public health for the people of Corpus Christi. And we will continue, and that is a vow from all of us, we will continue to work cooperatively with our regional partners to provide the best public health possible. I want to say that we're also realizing the goal of recommitting our public health efforts in Corpus Christi. This is a tremendous feat. And I want to thank our city council members, our county commissioners, our city manager, our legal teams, Jenny Dorsey, Miles Risley, Steve Vieira, and many others that are too many to name. But I just want to thank you all, because today we officially begin another new day for the city of Corpus Christi and Nueces County. So with that, I will go ahead and, would you want to say a few words, or do you want to sign first? Let's sign. Okay, great. Let's. Councilman Hernandez, join us, please. Oh.
You want to make sure we're going to sign? Is that?
Yes.
I know. We need an ID as well.
Photo ID.
Yeah. Go get them.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, the pen didn't work. Oh, God, that's hilarious.
Cheap pen. He needs a pen. He needs a pen.
County pen.
Disappearing ink.
Good. No, you're good. I'll make this one work.
Did you get it? Well, Commissioner's still. We got it? All right. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you all. Yes.
Yeah, we'll get
Absolutely.
Everybody.
Councilman Hernandez, come forward, please. We're taking a group picture, the council and our county commissioners. You voted. You voted for it. Exactly. Can't take credit.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you. I know, right? Okay. Are you Dr. Dorsey's? She was my principal at Ray for a year. Good, how are you? Good to see you. Oh, you sat next to me. Hi, I knew your face. I know, right? How cool. So you said you're over here. Yeah. Hey. Good to see you. I have to do that Thursday. And then I have to take Friday. That's gonna take maybe there's one. I get to see
That's why I said, that's what we need to do. It's not, never set up in that way to begin with, so you don't have the resources. I'm not gonna throw a bunch of things at you and then not give you the resources. I would just and anything for all your hard work.
Oh, thank you. I get to keep one.
Yep.
Good for you.
Is it the one that works?
Make sure they give you the one that works.
Yeah, we need to start checking those. From everything I understand, you represent your institute.
How are you? Good, good to see you.
We got it done.
Originals? No, that's fine.
Yeah. Oh, that's not bad.
But it could be like an electrician or it could be, it's any kind of support. Exactly, and so that's what I'm saying. So anyway, it was, I think you never know what it's called. Okay. I did the. Which one? I always try to remember.
Yeah, where's the official? I'm doing fine. How are you? Good to see you. Right, good.
I'll be here, or can you send me?
I will, I'm going to do a color scan.
Yeah.
That's why I have one with everybody in color.
So you said it may come with
I just have one. And I'll do a color scan, and I'm happy to give it back to you after I scan it.
Are you glad there is my scooter?
You want the original back, you can have it.
Just my person is discretion. So if you send me that.
We gotta see if the judge is gonna sign it, right? At some point. I know.
Yeah, I'll give it back.
I'll give you the original. That's all. You're just gonna shout.
I know, right? I said we're with the employees. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So we'll have the contract?
Yeah.
And I'll send you a color scan as well.
Great seeing you. Okay.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Yes, sir.
Put those in like a display case?
Yeah, we're gonna do the contract. Something good. Uverse. Did pretty good negotiating.
I know you did.
Now I'm on like a plaque with the document with pins underneath it, or.
It's like our constitution.
Approved it. We gotta find out what's in it.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, thank you.
This just starts the journey.
I know, exactly. I was just like, now we gotta really see what's in there.
I don't either, but that's why I said it'll just be there temporarily.
Give it different than the rent.
I just want to put temporary.
HR's got one else. The rubber's beating the road. The long term it'll be helpful. It's unsustainable.
Okay, we will reconvene our meeting now and go to item number 23. So this is an ordinance authorizing a license agreement with T-Mobile West LLC for the use of city property at Fire Station 16 on Mustang Island to operate a temporary antenna facility during spring break of 2022. Mr. Edmonds.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. Jeff Edmonds, Director of Engineering Services. You're probably wondering why this is my item, but anything that winds up being a real estate thing comes through me because we've got the landman in my department. So that's how I inherited this. But this originated with T-Mobile approaching the fire department about locating a temporary antenna at the Fire Station 16 site during spring break. And then, of course, that was a land lease. They brought it to my landman, and he worked this out with them, negotiated $2,500, a one-time payment to locate this there for 5 weeks.
Motion to approve?
Let me get public comment real quick. I'm going to go ahead and open public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to make public comment on item number 23? Okay, there being no public comment, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Councilman Hernandez.
Jeff, do you know what the height of this antenna is going to be?
It's extendable. It's like 100 feet, 110 foot.
Okay. I think that.
Yes.
Just for spring break, yeah. Okay, did we have a?
I just didn't want. Didn't want to be around 20 feet.
Right.
So,
right.
All right. Thanks.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? We just had some. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion carries. Item number 24 has been pulled, so we'll take item number 25, an ordinance approving the addition of one full-time position to the budget of Procurement Division of the Finance and Procurement Department for a contract manager. Hey, Heather.
Hi, good afternoon. This item before you is an amendment to the personnel budget for one additional headcount. In the Uverse study that was brought forward that had looked at our procurement operations, recommendation was that we add a contract manager that would help monitor contracts, train employees on how to best manage contracts, audit contracts to make sure that they're in compliance. And so what this item does is that it adds the headcount. We do have existing money within the budget so we're not adding any money to it. It's just allocating the headcount so that we can add this position.
Okay, do we have any questions, council? Okay, Councilman Hernandez.
Just real quick, I want to say this was one of the recommendations from the city auditor and the audit committee, and I think it's a great addition, and especially going forward with our contracts and making sure we're maximizing the value of those contracts. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Pusley.
Yeah, I concur. As a member of the audit committee, I think this is a really good thing, and it will. I know we had, the company I worked for, we had contract managers in different departments, and they will make you money, trust me, because they save you a lot of times over things that you miss in a contract. It gets put in a file cabinet somewhere and everybody forgets about it. So this is very important for the city's business, and I think good move.
Great. Okay, I think that's it. Is there public comment on item number 25? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. Item number 26 is an ordinance approving a lease estoppel and amendment to the ground lease with MREIC Corpus Christi, Texas LLC at the Corpus Christi International Airport to include language required for a merger and loan transaction by the tenant.
Yes,
Hi,
good
Tyler.
afternoon, Council. Tyler Miller, Deputy Director of Aviation. This request to Council is in support of a merger of the leaseholder of a parcel of land side of the airport, as that leaseholder is merging with another company. So here to answer any questions Council may have.
Okay, Councilman Pusley? No? No. Okay, no problem. Do we have any public comment on item number 26? Okay, there being none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. The motion carries. Well, gentlemen, we are done. Okay, with there being no further business, I adjourn this meeting.